first lecture on anatomy and physiology. And of course, the first thing that we probably need to do is define what do we mean by anatomy, what do we mean by physiology. Anatomy really has to do with structure. In other words, what does the part we're talking about look like, where is it, and what does it do? Now, physiology deals more with the function. Not only what does it do, but how does it do what it does. So we'll be covering both anatomy and physiology, and they do kind of go together. One of the most important themes that we'll talk about the whole semester will be the levels of organization. And the levels of organization are very important because we need to know what makes up whatever subject we're talking about. In other words, when we're talking about a whole human being, what are they made up of? Well, first they're made up of 11 organ systems. What are the organ systems made up of? Well, they're made up of the organs, and then what are organs made up of? They're made up of the tissues and so forth. So this is like super important because when we're talking about something, we want to know where we're at in our levels of organization. So I'll be emphasizing this a lot, almost on everything that we do, so we need to really understand it now. Now, if you look at this picture, and we can either start from large and go small, or start from small and go large, this picture sums it up, but I've also included some other pictures that also emphasize this because of its importance. Let's start from large and go small and just talk just a little bit. Notice that there's the organism, which is the individual person, and they're made up of 11 different systems, and in this picture we actually see the cardiovascular system as one of the 11. Within the cardiovascular system there are organs, the heart and the blood vessels, and we're looking in this particular picture at the organ level being the blood vessels, the veins, arteries, and capillaries. And when we look at any organ, we know it's made up primarily of tissues, and the tissues, there's actually four classifications of tissues and sub-classifications under those. But the tissue that we see in this example is smooth muscle tissue, but we'll be covering the 4 tissue levels. Then tissues are further broken down into cells, and cells really is the lowest level we can go that's considered living. We'll talk about what we mean biologically by what characteristics you have to have if you are living. But for right now, just understand this is the lowest living level. But we can still break it down into smaller subdivisions, and we really break it down into molecules, which we divide into organic and inorganic molecules. Then those molecules are further broken down into the atoms that actually make up those molecules. So we'll be going down into the atomic and even talking about the subatomic particles that create the bonds in the molecules. But all these levels are important to understand, and because for both anatomy and physiology, we need to understand what's happening in the body. Again, looking at our levels of organization from a little bit bigger perspective, here we see again at the top of the page the individual organism, the individual, and then we see the representation of the 11 different systems that actually make up the individual. Now again, they've chosen to show the cardiovascular system, but we really have 11 systems, and they really do work together, and usually what goes on in one affects what goes on in the others. So we'll talk also individually about what each system does. But right now, just as far as understanding how things are organized, we do see the systems, and we know that the systems are then further broken down into organs. Here we see the organ, one of the organs in the cardiovascular system, the heart, and of course the heart does a specific job, but the heart is made up of different tissues. The dominant tissue that makes up the heart being cardiac muscle tissue. Now, it's not the only tissue in the heart, but it is the dominant tissue. And we'll talk about what we mean exactly by tissues a little bit later. But tissues are further broken down into similar cells that are doing a similar job. So cardiac muscle tissue is going to be broken down into cardiac muscle cells, or as they say in this picture, heart muscle cells, that do a specific job, mainly of contracting. Now, when we go below the cellular level, we go to the molecular level, which is going to be either organic or inorganic molecules, which are going to have both in the cells. In the picture, though, we happen to see a specific organic molecule, which is a protein. And then as we look further down, we actually see the names of, we see the representations of the proteins making up the filament, and those proteins, as we will learn later, will be actin, myosin, troponin, and tropomyosin. And we see actin, troponin, and tropomyosin in the next to last picture. Then when we